Alright, so a decimal is something like that. This is the tenth, right? Tenth is mathematically written as 1/10. Right, that means that if I want to convert this one to a whole number, I can multiply by 10, so that this will give me 1. That is the approach you are going to use. If you have a tenth, you multiply by 10. That is tens, 10. If we have 100, you multiply by 100. If you have 1,000, you have multiplied by 1,000. If you have 10,000, you multiply by 10,000. Okay, so that is the approach you are going to use. Let's look at some examples. Alright, so let's look at this problem here. The first thing you need to note is that the decimals we have are in tenth, all of them, right? So we can solve this. If we were using a calculator, this would be very simple for us. Just divide, perform division property of equality, and you are good to go. However, we may not be allowed to use calculator at this time, so we have to find an approach, right? We need to convert all of these to whole numbers. So if it is a tenth, you multiply by 10, right? So 0.5d times 10, and the goal is to change that to a whole number. And multiplication property of equality, if I'm multiplying this side by 10, I also have to multiply this by 10. So 0.5 times 10 will give me 5d, and that will give me, the decimal point will just move 1, right? That will give me 5. This decimal will just move 1 because I'm multiplying by 1 0 here, 10, and that is going to give me 35. So this, if I perform division property of equality, d is equal to 35 divided by 5 will give me 7. Alright, so let's look at this problem. We have 0.05e equals 4. Now you can see one decimal in here, 0.05, and this is in hundredth. This is in hundredth, and I said 100 is the same as 1/100, right? So if I have 100, I need to multiply by 100, which is 100, right? That will give me 1. So I'm going to multiply everything here by 100, and that's this. The decimal will move 2 times. It moves 1 and it moves 2. That will give me 5e equals 4 times 100 is 400. If I divide this by 5, I divide that by 5, e should be equal to 80. Alright, let's look at this problem. I'm sure you can solve this. The decimal is in tenths, right? So I multiply everything by 10. 60 times 10 equals 0.3f times 10. 60 times 10 is 600. The decimal will move 1. That will give me 3f. I divide both sides by 3. I divide both sides by 3. This gives me 200, and that is f, right? Very simple. Now let's make these problems a little difficult. Alright, let's look at this problem, right? It is a little difficult than the straightforward ones we're doing before. Now we have an equation and we need to solve it, right? All the decimals that we have here are in one decimal place. It's in the tenth, right? So we multiply each term by 10. So 10 by x minus 10 by 4.2x equals 10 by 0.8x minus 10 times 12, right? So 10 times x is 10x. 10 times 4.2, the decimal move 1, that will give me 42. So minus 42x equals 10 times 0.8, the decimal move 1, that will give me 8x, and then 10 times 12 will give me 120. Now let's look at like terms. 10x minus 42x and 8, they are all like terms. So let's transpose a to move from the right side of equality to the left side of equality. It is positive 8x here. It becomes negative 8x, which means I'm going to wind up with 10x minus 42x minus 8x, which is equal to negative 102. Now let's look at it. 10x, negative 42x minus 8x will give me negative 50x, which is equal to negative 120. And so here 10x minus 40x will give me negative 40x, which is equal to negative 120. Now applying the division property of equality, we can divide both sides by negative 40, divide both sides by negative 40, and negative cancels negative, 40 cancels out 40, negative cancels negative, 0 cancels 0, 4 goes into 12 3 times. So x is equal to 3. Alright, so let's look at this problem here. This we can simply solve it, because if you transpose 1.2 to the other side, 19.8 plus 1.2 will give you 21, right? Good. But not everybody can do this. That's simple. Okay, so let's convert this one to whole numbers. So look at it. We have 1,000 here. This is 10th, 100th, 1,000, right? 1,000, which is 1 over 1,000. So we need to multiply that by 1,000, right? So we're going to multiply everything here by 1,000. Every term here is going to be multiplied by 1,000. So let's see, this will give you 1,000x minus, this is going to move 3 times because there are 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. That will give you the whole number, 125x minus, this is going to move 3 times. 1, 2, 3. That will give you 1,200, and this is going to give you 19. So it's going to move 1, 2, 3. Great. So now let's subtract this. If you have, so if I have 1,000x minus 125x, that should give you 875x minus 1,200x, that is 1,200, equals 19,800. And then we can transpose or do addition property of equality, transposing from the right side of equality to the left side of equality. This is negative 1,200, so it will wind up to become positive 1,200, and that is 875x equals 19,800 plus 1,200 will give you 21,000, right? And if I divide by 875, that should wind up as 24. Let's look at this last problem. Try your hands on this if you are able to solve it. Alright, so let's see. The decimal place here is 10th, right? So you multiply everything by 10. This will give me 10x, then that will give me 4x plus 80 equals negative 200. I multiplied everything by 10, right? And so this should give me 14x plus 80 equals negative 200. Now I'm going to transpose. This is positive 80. That is going to be negative 80 because I'm transposing. I'm moving from the left side of equality to the right side of equality. This gives me 14x, and that will be negative 200 minus 80. 14x equals negative 280. So division property of equality 14, and I divide everything by 14. So you would see x equals 28 is a multiple of 14. 2 times 14 is 28. So it means that 14 can go into 28 too, and there is a 0 here, which makes 20. So x is negative 20. So I hope you understand this. Thank you very much for always coming back. I really appreciate that. Thanks for supporting my channel. Subscribe, share to someone, and then I really appreciate it. Thanks.